The official car of happy hour drinks so you can still get 8 hours of sleep. Honda has always been the king of making cars that can be owned by the masses because none of them outside of really that most outlandish. They're not really particularly striking outside of maybe like the race cars. I mean, the manufacturer spends most of the time just developing cars that can handle a midday brunch before dropping off your taxes. It seems then that the history of this car and its modification pedigree would end. Story over, okay? But don't underestimate people like you who are too stubborn to buy a car that has an aftermarket community. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the Men's Warehouse equivalent of the Honda Civic, a car that starts to make more sense as you get older and hair in places you didn't want. But when you do it right, just like pubic hair, chest hair, oh my God, Civic owners will wish they had bought the big brother. There was a time you wanted to know about this car, but now you want to know more. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about how to modify a 10th gen Honda Accord. Technically, isn't pubic hair the same thing as the rest of the hair on your body? I don't think it is. I think I missed health class that day. I kissed a set of lowering springs yesterday because we got our first sale, which was sick. And if you want to support this journey and build your car at the best prices for wheels, tires, performance parts, pretty much everything, then go check out Martini Works. I can't promise a kiss on every car part, but I can at least promise a kiss on the second one, okay? We've got the build threads too, where you can learn how to build your car from people who already built their car. So before you go into modifying one of these, we need to go back to figure out why it was even birthed into this world. You've heard this story before. The Honda Accord has been a thing since Star Wars, and with the goal to try to find its place market here stateside, it didn't really find its home until the 10th generation, in my opinion. The Accord had been the bigger brother of the Civic. It had always been a slightly larger version, but there was always competition in the space where it never really stuck out until the 10th gen, because it had a mountain of changes which made this sedan pretty much one of the best Accords to pick up to actually modify. I would call this thing pretty much the American Civic. It got pretty bang on good looks. It had some changes to its suspension, its engine layout, some features that came with it, and it became a car that pretty much anyone would love at a price that was still less than the competition. You got adaptive suspension dampers, baby! Nobody cares because you're putting coilovers in, okay? But you do have an NFC connector for your phone. You're probably gonna replace it with a different deck. Doesn't matter. What matters is that the car had an insanely good baseline for performance, which included the best thing being a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that could bring you 252 horsepower, that could take you to a nice cruise to a supper club relatively pretty fast, and it was peppy. The 1.5 liter, still okay, a little bit slow. We're focusing on the 2-liter turbo. And unlike its competitors, this motherfucker had a manual transmission, and that young dads and moms can rejoice that didn't want to give up their childhood fun of driving. This shit had a stick in the middle, so you could fast and furious your ass to Costco before going to bed at 9 o'clock. This thing is one of the last, and it was one of the last vehicles to offer manual transmission in a sedan here on the stateside. So it's a 4-door Civic, and with a lower roofline and sleeker body style, it became a car that people might want to buy. And it's probably why you're here, because it looks pretty damn good. But you're not here just to buy one, you're here to modify one. We want to get that shit out of here, so let's get into it, okay? The early gen Honda Accords, due to some initial electrical issues, kind of have a bad rap. But I say suck it up, because you can find yourself a manual transmission one, and you can put up with the fixes that you'll need to do on that side. They're not severe, go look it on the internet. They were one of the last sedans though, like I said, to have a manual transmission, and after 2021, that went away for good. So the 2019, in my opinion, would be a really solid start, okay? Because it is a 2-liter turbocharged, there's some time that we get to spend in the tune zone, all right? You're gonna go fast when you jump into the tune zone, baby. Get yourself a Borla S catback exhaust, an RV6 downpipe, a PRL intake, and a K-tuner, and buckle that motherfucker up, all right? And when I say motherfucker, I actually just mean the 3-year-old that you probably have. Put them in the back seat, get the whole thing strapped down, because you got yourself a good amount of power, okay? I've seen people on a Honda tune, okay, whatever you want to call it, hit like 320 horsepower and 350 foot-pounds of torque, which is plenty for a daily driver, okay? And that's where you're gonna want to stay for the sake of your wallet in your reliability. Can you do more? Yes, but should you? No, okay? Are there other models to the Accord? Yes. Do we want to modify them with the same performance parts if they're naturally aspirated? Not really, no, okay? You can do an exhaust and things like that on your naturally aspirated car if you've got that one, because you don't want to buy the turbo one, but you're more so doing it for yourself rather than any great gain, okay? If you've got the non-turbo, throw your money more towards like the Continental tires and like a super thin 19-spoke wheel with a little concavity. I've seen a lot of people run rotiforms for the Euro look, or dare I say Consees if you want to keep yourself within a budget. It also kind of is a retro look. I like it, okay? I've seen a lot of people start to love the tandems, especially in the bigger sizes, and I think it would give a pretty neat retro style look to this car. This thing is gonna be a classic in 10 years. I'm calling it now, okay? Coilovers here is where we wouldn't cheap out on though, because this car is heavy. Okay, the same thing with tires. Load rating here is important. And when people go too skinny with the tires, you'll end up breaking cords and it's a pain in the ass. Stick to a coilover with good valving and a decent firm spring rate, like something like a Fortunato 510 series. They got the new Gen 8s. I would highly recommend that. And I would avoid going cheap on coilovers, especially with bigger cars. The shittiness feeling grows exponentially with bad coilovers as the car gets chunkier. Okay, so no matter if you have the EX, EXL, hybrid EXL, hybrid Touring, LX, LXS, Sport, Special Edition. I think there's also a Touring. Honda needs to chill with this, okay? You may think that this is a clone of the Civic, and it's close, but it's not. Your turning radius on the Accord is a little bit weaker. Your open diff is gonna be a little bit of an issue if you wanna do more than just have a daily street car. A lot of people don't say they mind it, you'll mind it, okay? As you modify this car more, you're going to notice that the little things that make this car even more fun also make it a little bit more of a pain in the ass. The steering feel is awesome, and the weight seems hidden while you're driving a bit as a normal Honda Accord. But without upgrading the tires, when you start adding more power to it, it's gonna be a little bit annoying to deal with because the stock tires sucked ass and didn't get much better. Okay, so while you can get through a 10-speed automatic or the 6-speed manual, what really matters here is that you're definitely looking at a future classic, and if you put some money into some good tires and coilovers, it's gonna feel awesome. Quality parts on this car speak wonders. I've seen people do Ferratas on the car, rotiforms, and more, okay? But a set of Fortunatos with some work ZR10s or some Kiwamis, that'd break the internet, all right? Keeping the car simple but clean is gonna make this thing look 10 out of 10 every time. And because you have the Honda reliability behind it, you're never gonna find yourself stranded that often, unless you buy shitty parts or you install them really badly. In that case, that's on you. I've done it a million times. I ordered pizza when my Datsun broke every time. So how do you modify a 10th gen Honda Accord? Easy, baby. You aim for a 2-liter turbo model with the 6-speed manual transmission for around $25,000. Be proud of the fact that you're a mature adult. First things first, go either performance or looks first. Try to just cash one out first. A standard tune, intake, exhaust, and headers is gonna set you back probably around $2,500 to $3,000 for 50 to 70 horsepower and 80 to 100 foot-pounds of torque, okay? If you do this first, plan to save money for the next bit, which is going to be tires, wheels, and suspension, which you can get all of this over at martiniworks.com, baby, because we're big ballers. We got a filter now, okay? If you're going to go cheaper though, go cheaper on the wheels and spend more on tires and coilovers. Tires fix the road noise for this car, and the grippiness with the new power is gonna be awesome. Pair that with coilovers that are connected, and you're just not really gonna feel the weight of this car, and it's just gonna get you around and it's gonna feel awesome, okay? While wheels are the flashiest part of this, you really wanna narrow in on the driving experience side of things, because this is, at the end of the day, just a 4-door sedan car, and it was never really meant to be this high performance, sport-oriented, drag racing, drifting ass thing. It's got the recipe of the opposite. It's 4 doors, open diff, front wheel drives, tiny motor with barely a turbo, depending on what trim you get. So don't go excessive. Once you dropped another $3,000 on that, you'll be done. And the end result is probably around, I would say, a $30,000 to $32,000 car all in. It's gonna have 4 doors, a 6-speed manual. It's gonna be front wheel drive, sleek looks that is going to be a future classic with Honda reliability and enough punch to even beat a few cars out there on the road. It'll sound good, haul the kids, keep your insurance low, and never let you down. And most importantly, your parents won't be disappointed in your choices, which we could use a win every once in a while. But most importantly, whether you're looking to build one of these or you already have one, be sure to check it out over on our build threads at martiniworks.com. Hope you enjoyed this video. Drop a comment on what you want to see us talk about next. I'm Alex, Alex.Martini with 2 underscores on Instagram, and we will see you later. Adios.